It's funny how things change, isn't it? Recently I checked through my commander decks, and out of the 8 I've built, only 2 of them use green, and only in 3 color combinations. Which is crazy, because when I got into Magic around 2016 or so, my first deck was the Jace Planeswalker deck from Rivals of Ixalan. It was a Simic Merfolk Tribal, and after that I got really into the Vivian Planeswalker deck, which was mono green. Not to mention my first commander deck ever was a mono green Goreclaw affair. How on earth did green go from being my favorite color of all time to my least used by far? First, some background. Green is the color of instinct and interdependence. It's also heavily associated with nature, and I mean every part of nature, from cute little plant friends to very aggressive pigs to somehow even more aggressive elephants. Green is very creature focused, and stop me if you've heard this one before, but it ends up being the color's biggest weakness. See, green only wins on its own through combat damage, which it does well, to be fair, but that's all it wants to do, making it the most predictable color by far. But, as is always the case, the best way to explain is by looking at the gameplay. Green's primary gameplay loop is creating mana, summoning lots of creatures, or one big one, and praying no one has removal. In contrast to red though, green likes making what I call sustainable mana. Fetching lands, using mana dorks, and reducing the cost of creatures is green's bread and butter. The weird thing about green is how it approaches variety. Where a color like black has a ridiculous amount of alternate win cons, green only has the one, but the way it gets there changes every time. Basically, black is a multi-tool and green is a screwdriver with multiple heads. For instance, green can win either through using a huge creature like Hydra Omnivore to do as much damage as possible in one go, or multiple creatures like plant tokens to go wide. It has anthem effects and single target pump, artifact and enchantment hate, flying hate both normally and as reach, and creature removal in the form of the fight mechanic, which is one of my favorite mechanics in the game because it fits green's theme so well. But besides being the most predictable color, what are green's flaws? Well, Pillow Fort seems like the obvious one, but stuff like Ghostly Prison isn't that much of a hindrance when you're basically printing mana. No, I'd say green's biggest flaw is greed. It's very easy to see just how much mana your deck could make and assume that's how much mana it will make. But green isn't immune to mana screw, it's just resistant to it. So when you look at the 10 cost worm that seems super cool, keep in mind that having 10 mana available is a luxury, not a given. Aside from that, there isn't much to say about green. I mean, it hates flying creatures, for some reason, but beyond making mana and using it to either call your older brother or the residents of the local lollipop guild, green doesn't have much going on. It's kind of like being in a conversation with someone who knows a ton about one thing. If you're interested in that thing, then you can bet green's gonna educate you, but if you ever want to talk about something else, you'd be better served with one of their alternative friends. I don't mean green as a bad color though. The fact that it hyperfixates on one thing makes it incredibly focused and very efficient. I said a while back that white is a win more color, but green is a snowball rolling down Everest. If you can trip it up, recovery is a tough sell, but give it time and nothing will stand in your way. But what are you gonna put all that time into? As in, what critters live on this end of the spectrum? Elves, hydras, and bears are the ones I'm picking because EDHREC doesn't sort creature type decks by color anymore, and I don't want to talk or think about spiders. Elves, they're pretty simple, summoning more of themselves and making each other stronger, all that jazz, but with the sprinkling of cinnamon that is mana generation. Fetching lands, tapping for mana, adding value to creature spells, destroying artifacts, and so on, elves are all about the things green loves, with a couple of tricks of their own. Hydras fall into the same pits as dragons, demons, krakens, and angels as finisher creatures. They're huge game-ending monsters that reduce each other's costs, make more hydras, fight other creatures, enjoy cascade, and mainly deal with +1/+1 counters. Bears are interesting, as they tend to be pretty general, either not having an ability at all or not having an ability specific to bears. So they enjoy all that good green stuff, making themselves stronger, being cute, making more bears, being cute, fighting stuff, and being cute, but with a bit more variety on some of the more obscure cards. Some other creature types include things like centaurs, spiders like I said, boars, and dinosaurs, basically anything that's either big and stompy, small and can multiply, or would ruin a picnic. Green is the lightly salted Lay's of colors to me. It's a nice snack every now and again, but eventually you'll want something more interesting. And I suppose that's why it's both the best color for new players and the best splash color in a deck. Despite all the ragging I've done today, keep in mind that green isn't bad. It's focused on its goal and it's the best at what it does. It's just a shame that everyone else can do it too. But don't get it twisted, no other color can do this in the way that green does it. But is it the strongest color? Well, unfortunately, the best card ever, Whisper Silk Cloak, is colorless and can fit into any deck. Still, if you like the idea of summoning huge creatures, summoning a bunch of little guys, having a simple game plan and being incredibly efficient with your resources, then green might be the color for you. If not, then go check out the other colors, baby, cause we're done! And from all of us here, thank you for watching, especially our $5 a month patrons, Dorian, Liam Anderson, and Discordance. The support of these three, and to a much lesser extent the rest of you, really keep this channel going. The next video will be something a bit different, and I don't know how long it will take, so temper your expectations scheduling wise. Finally, remember that it doesn't matter what color you play. Magic the Gathering is about the gathering. So treat your other players well, have fun, and happy building.